The year is 1963, and the Marvel Universe has just been rocked by the arrival of a trio of terrifying, hairy, wild men from the future who are here to kill everyone. Now, this would ordinarily be a great premise for a fun, campy action movie, where our plucky heroes defeat a cheesy villain with bad dialogue and an even worse haircut. But no, instead, it becomes one of the most defining moments in comic book history. Now, these hairy men from the future are obviously not real, nor is any of the stuff I just mentioned, including the fact that I'm narrating this video. But did you know that the reason these hairy mutant invaders from the future become such a huge part of the Marvel Universe is because Stan Lee was tired of explaining how people got superpowers? Join me as we count down 4 incredible facts you never knew about the X-Men that prove it is okay to take your work seriously, even when you're making fart jokes. Number 4. What if I told you that one of Marvel's most iconic creations, a team synonymous with deep social commentary and complex powers, was born out of pure, unadulterated creative fatigue? It sounds like a joke, but the shocking truth behind the X-Men A.L.E.'s origin reveals a flash of lazy genius from Stan Lee that changed comic book history forever. In the grand pantheon of superheroes, few teams match the cultural impact and thematic depth of the X-Men. Created by the legendary Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, this band of merry and sometimes brooding mutants has captured the hearts and minds of readers worldwide. But their path to glory was paved with more than a few interesting choices, one of which nearly led to their demise before they even made it to print. You see, the creation of the X-Men was less a moment of unbridled inspiration and more a sigh of utter frustration from Stan Lee, the man behind some of Marvel's biggest hits. With a stable of heroes already gracing the pages of Marvel Comics, including the likes of Spider-Man, the Hulk, and the Fantastic Four, Lee found himself at a crossroads. Each of these heroes had a unique origin story, a defining moment that led them to embrace their alter ego. Peter Parker, bitten by a radioactive spider. Bruce Banner, caught in a gamma bomb's explosion. Reed Richards, exposed to cosmic rays. But as Lee continued to expand his universe, the task of concocting a distinct narrative for every new hero became increasingly daunting. Then came the mutants. In an ingenious move born out of creative fatigue rather than a burst of energy, Lee decided that his new team of heroes wouldn't gain their powers through a freak accident or an isolated incident. They were just born that way. By removing the need for an origin story for each mutant, Lee liberated himself to focus on the social commentary and character development that would make the X-Men a standout in the crowded world of superheroes. This decision didn't just streamline his writing process, it allowed him to tackle complex themes of prejudice, acceptance, and what it means to be human. But Lee's genius didn't stop there. He realized that calling them mutants might confuse readers, so he gave them a new name, the X-Men. A moniker that hinted at the unknown and the extraordinary, but also served as a subtle nod to the X chromosome, a genetic marker that hinted at their shared heritage without tipping their hand to the wider world. It was a stroke of marketing brilliance. And while the X-Men's beginnings were rooted in a desire to cut corners, they quickly evolved into one of the most beloved and thought-provoking superhero franchises of all time. Today, the X-Men stand as a testament to the power of creative constraint, a reminder that sometimes limitations breed innovation, and that a little bit of laziness can go a long way. Number 3. This next fact might come as a shock to fans of Marvel's Merry Mutants, but I'm afraid it's true. Early drafts of X-Men featured a very different version of Wolverine, one that bore a striking resemblance to another famous Canadian, eh? Moose. Moose. Yeah, I couldn't pronounce it either. When Wolverine first appeared in issue number 1 of the X-Men series, he was known as Weapon X, a ruthless killing machine with adamantium claws. But believe it or not, the character bore little resemblance to the gruff, wisecracking anti-hero we know and love today. In fact, the original Wolverine was a savage, unhinged beast, more animalistic than human, a reflection of his creators, Stan Lee's, desire to include a more primal, bestial element to the team. Lee wanted to create a character that tapped into our fascination with the wild, untamed aspects of nature. a force of raw instinct and feral power that could rival even the most formidable opponents. But as the character evolved, so did his portrayal. Writers began to explore Wolverine's humanity, revealing a tortured soul beneath the adamantium. They delved into his past, uncovering the tragic events that had shaped him into the weapon he had become. They gave him a sense of humor, a sarcastic wit that cut through the darkness, a semblance of compassion that made him strangely endearing. Wolverine's transformation from savage beast to wisecracking anti-hero is a testament to the power of character development and the enduring appeal of flawed, complex heroes. But what's truly fascinating is the glimpse it offers into the creative process of one of comics' most legendary creators. Stan Lee's initial concept for Wolverine was rooted in our primal fears and fascinations, but it was through the contributions of subsequent writers that the character truly came to life. Number 2. Did you know that Stan Lee originally envisioned the X-Men as a team of 5 core members? Yep. No Charles Xavier, no Angel, no Beast. Just 5 ordinary people who became extraordinary after gaining superpowers. In fact, the original lineup consisted of 5 very different characters, each brought together by Professor X to form the very first X-Men: Cyclops, Iceman, Marvel Girl, Beast, and Angel. These 5 mutants represented a microcosm of society itself, a melting pot of cultures and backgrounds held together by their common experience. Professor X saw potential in each of them, recognizing that their unique abilities and diverse perspectives could form a powerful bond that would not only help them control their powers, but also navigate the complexities of the human world. However, the inclusion of certain characters, particularly the Beast, raised eyebrows. Despite being immensely powerful, the Beast's blue fur and overall appearance marked him as an outsider, reflecting the prejudices faced by many mutants. Interestingly, the inclusion of the Beast also symbolized the evolving nature of the X-Men themselves. Initially seen as monstrous, the Beast would later become a pivotal member of the team, demonstrating that appearances can be deceiving, and that true strength comes from embracing one's differences. However, despite this intriguing dynamic, the original team only lasted for 4 issues. Internal conflicts, character limitations, and the evolving nature of the X-Men mythos led to significant changes. Members were added and removed, and the team's dynamics shifted dramatically. Number 1. Have you ever wondered why Professor X wears that iconic black leather jacket? Well, turns out there's a pretty practical reason behind the sleek look. You see, when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby first introduced Charles Xavier, aka Professor X, to the world of Marvel Comics in 1963, he was depicted wearing a tailored black suit, a stark contrast to the colorful costumes worn by his fellow superheroes. However, as the years went by, Professor X's wardrobe underwent a subtle yet significant change. The tailored suits were replaced by a more casual ensemble, a black turtleneck sweater and a black leather jacket. This seemingly minor detail was actually a deliberate choice by the creative team to make Professor X more approachable and relatable to readers. The leather jacket in particular added a touch of rugged charm, signaling his willingness to get down and dirty alongside his students at the Danger Room. But there was more to the jacket than met the eye. It also served as a symbol of Professor X's unwavering commitment to the X-Men. Despite his physical limitations, symbolized by his wheelchair, the professor's leather jacket suggested a preparedness for action, a readiness to face any challenge head-on, a fitting image for a superhero mentor. So the next time you see Professor X battling alongside his students or guiding them from the sidelines, take a moment to appreciate the symbolism of his simple yet iconic black leather jacket, a symbol of resilience, adaptability, and unwavering commitment.